Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Welcome back to the vlog. That intro is a shout out to my man Chuck at Trucking Through Life. He has a YouTube channel. I'm going to leave a link to that channel in the description below, but Chuck is somebody that I'd like to kind of stay in contact with, because talking to people that have the same type of goals or goals that you're aspiring to is very important in life. And Chuck is one of those guys that doesn't need to be working. He's just driving for the love of it. So, like I said, I'm going to leave a link to his channel in the description below. He's working for Estes right now. And definitely somebody I enjoy talking to. But let's get on to my 2-year review of PSD training with Prime Inc. Now, these videos are going to start getting to be a little bit more relevant to the day-to-day life at Prime as I go through them. If you're interested in coming to Prime, this video will be in a Prime Inc. review playlist. So just go to my channel, look up the playlist, and it's going to be in there, as well as any future and past videos that I'm going to do on this. Now, this review on Prime's PSD training is going to be a little bit specific to the Salt Lake City terminal, and even more specific to those people that did their training on the pad. Now, there's a pretty big difference between doing your training over the road and doing your training on the pad. I do believe, personally, if the goal is to actually get your CDL, you can't beat that training at the pad in Salt Lake City, man. If you go over the road, I'm not 100% sure of what goes on. I could just go by what I've heard. And while you do get a lot more of that day-to-day driving experience, it's not even close. You're not going to be able to do as much backing. You're not going to be able to pre-trip as much. You're not going to be able to do anything like that to the same degree. The pad training at Salt Lake City, when I went through there, was pretty rigorous. You're going to be working a lot more than you would be if you go over the road doing your PSD training. We were at the terminal 7 a.m. every morning till roughly around 3:30, 4 o'clock. You had an hour lunch, and you were pretty much working that entire time outside of the lunch break that you have. The majority of that training was going to be backing on the pad, so unlike doing your training over the road, you're going to be backing, hours and hours and hours a day, depending on how big the class is. Now, I'm not sure if things are still the same. When I went through, Tim, who's now, I guess, a CDL examiner, he was one of the trainers out there. You had Will. I'm not sure if he's still with Prime or not. And, excuse me, I think I got my names wrong. You had Tim, who's a CDL instructor now. He was there. You had Will, and then you had Tyler, and it was pretty much a fine-tuned machine out there. I mean, you were constantly working on your pre-trip backing, not so much over the road. I think that my over-the-road training, or my over-the-road driving, may have only been about, I'd have to say, 2.5 hours total driving. And that kind of is the one flaw about that. But one thing I will tell you is the driving that you did do, you were dealing with a lot of industrial areas, things like that. So I think we did get our fair share of tight quarters driving, things like that. But we didn't, personally, I didn't know how to handle way stations, things like that, when I got over the road. But anyway, let's kind of get into it. So when I'd gone through, I think my class was about 12 to 13 people. First thing that they made sure that you had handled before you even got onto the pad was that pre-trip had to be, you had to come correct on that pre-trip to even get on the pad. So, you're talking about maybe 2 or 3 days of pre-trip training for hours and hours a day. There was a little bit of simulator training that was kind of mixed into that, and if you've watched any of my other videos, I'm not a fan of the simulator. Doesn't mean it's not a good thing, just means I'm not a fan of it. As I mentioned in a previous video, while you're doing some of that pre-trip training, the weather wasn't exactly the greatest out there. And we were outside in sleet and rain and stuff like that. And I just think that during that portion of it, maybe just bring the truck into a empty bay and let us knock it out in there. Because by the end of the day, our pre-trip sheets were falling apart and all this kind of stuff. But that's kind of, that's one thing that I would have changed. But listen, those trainers out there at the time, Tim, Tyler, and Will, all A+ trainers. And one thing I can kind of tell you that is kind of a little bit different with the Salt Lake City terminal was those trainers were not assigned to any truck. So they didn't have to worry about doing any loads or doing anything like that while they were training. It was strictly just training. So, while you're at the terminal the entire time, you were staying at the luxurious Ramada. So, that wasn't necessarily, I guess it depends on what you're used to. To me, that wasn't necessarily, the best hotel room, but how can you complain if it is free? Now, again, there were probably about 3, maybe 4 groups of students that were going through at a time. I'd say closer to 3. So as people left, more people were coming in. So it was kind of like a musical chairs of roommates. I think I might have had maybe 5 roommates during that time. Now, the training that I did, I could have knocked out this training in a week and a half, 2 weeks, but you're kind of held back by the group of people that you're with. So that training actually ended up taking almost near a month. Now, that training could probably ended up being shorter as class sizes shortened up. But when I went through, the classes were a little bit bigger, so that was the amount of time that it took. And like always, I'm always there to be over-prepared than under-prepared. So, outside of, missing my wife and home and all that kind of stuff, that really wasn't that big of an issue. And it better not be an issue because you're going to be out here on the road for at least that long for the most part while you're trucking. But, that's kind of what that situation was. I'm trying to think if there's anything else about that training. We did have some outside people come in. Man, I wish I remembered his name, but every now and then you'd have a driver come through that was going to be down for a while at Salt Lake City, and then they would kind of take you out in their trucks. There was a really good flatbed guy. I know that he's won some of the truck driving rodeos, but he came out and I had a chance to ride with him for a while. Very laid back guy. That was good getting out on the road with him. That's pretty much it. So unlike the over-the-road training where you're going to be kind of dealing with, you're going to at least get familiar with, picking up loads, delivering loads, truck stop etiquette, things like that. You are going to be missing stuff like that. But when it comes to actually, backing that truck up, you can't beat that training as far as the cones go. Now, when you get out here in real life, there ain't going to be no cones. There's going to be some actual trucks. But like I said, if it's just to pass the CDL, I cannot take anything away from that pad training at Salt Lake City. As a matter of fact, I would say that I would actually recommend the pad training over the road training, or at least that's what I would do again if I had to do it over again. So my review on Prime's PSD training specific to Salt Lake City, specific to pad training, I'm going to have to give that 4.75 stars out of 5, with only minor hits given to maybe during that pre-trip training, bringing a truck into like a bay or something like that. If for nothing else, to keep your pre-trip paperwork from falling apart and all that kind of stuff. As far as, you know, getting you to be rugged and stuff like that, I didn't mind that aspect of it. But practically, I think it would have just been easier just on a concentration level as well. And then a slight hit for the, you know, the hotel accommodations. But listen, if you're going out there and you're going to be doing your training in Salt Lake City, that is going to be a 7-day-a-week operation. At least it was when I went. I did hear that they shortened up the schedule a little bit, maybe not as many hours a day. I'm not sure if that's correct or not, but highly recommend that. You know, when I first went to Salt Lake City, I was like hoping, you know, I was kind of slyly trying to find a driver to take me over the road to do PSD training, and one of my friends actually went out there, and or one of the people that I became friends with out there ended up doing his training over the road, and I believe that we were a little bit more prepared. Now, I did fail. You know, I didn't get a trifecta. I did fail my drive test, and I failed on a light that was changing, that was going from, you know, I had momentum. The light, you know, changed when I was, you know, it was either like severely hard brake or roll through it. I rolled through it just like I'd be doing, just like every driver out here does. And I got failed on that, and I actually dry snitched on myself, to be honest with you. I think his name was Brad. I think he was gonna let me slide, but I knew it was an auto fail, and I'd made that right turn, and he wasn't saying anything, and I could tell he was feeling uncomfortable. So I just asked him. I was like, "Should I pull over?" And he's like, "Yeah." You know, and he was like, you know, that's something that you're going to be doing out there every day, you know, while you're on the road. But for a CDL exam, you know, I'm going to have to fail you for that. And DOT's been following us around to make sure of all this stuff. So anyway, I did fail that. And really, the only reason I was putting that pressure on myself was because I wanted to you know, reward the trainers that the pad that had put in all that work for me. So I really wasn't that concerned about failing that myself, but I was kind of looking out for them. So when I did pass, I ended up getting all 3 of the trainers like $75, either $50 or $75 gift cards, just to show my appreciation to them, and to show them that I did appreciate what they were passing forward to me on the pad. Anyway, sorry if I dragged this out a little bit too long. My next video will be about TNT training, and you want to be around for that one. That's going to be my next review, and then, like I said, things are going to get a little bit more relevant as we go forward. I'd like to thank you guys for stopping by No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. I do appreciate it. Comment, subscribe, and I'm out.